Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host for today. And today I have Practitioner Avila here, owner of Resilient Acupuncture and Mobility, licensed acupuncturist, certified in dry needling, functional range system practitioner, a Fascial Stretch therapist, and of course, an Air Force veteran. So, Aaron, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Much pleasure.
Yes, sir. So for those of my audience who don't know about you, kind of explain yourself as far as like, how did you become, the person that you are today as far as your field of work with resilient acupuncture and mobility? Like, how did it all started?
Well, if I can start with the reason why I called my brand Resilient Acupuncture Mobility, I think that's kind of my hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
I've been passionate, really ingrained in health and fitness since I was 12 years old. Growing up in kind of in the Chicago area, we have our environment that kind of puts us towards a different kind of route. And I've always been kind of the smarter guy. I've always kind of delved deep into physical education, bodybuilding, and that kind of just led into, me joining the military right after that. And then really just trying to define what is it that I want to do for the rest of my life. And, I resonate a lot with what, like Hormozy says, it's like the trials and tribulations of life kind of direct you towards the path you need to be on. And out of that is essentially what my brand is a resilient path, one that's not followed by many, but one that is very unique to what I do. And from there, I went to the military and really dove deep. What is it that I want to do? And that's pretty much who I am today, and continuing to lead this journey. Really, kind of like physical medicine in general. So, yeah.
As far as like, I know you just opened up your practice about a year ago, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So prior to that, you were working out of a smaller space, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of looking over your journey as far as like you
and it's
just
awesome.
outgrew it, and I think that's the hope for every entrepreneurial person like yourself is like you want to grow, you want to continue to serve different communities. Kudos to you, man. Tell me, what's your typical demographic or population of people that you typically treat?
So I treated everyone from really athletic high school to 85 years old can't move. I really treated several populations, not even in terms of like physical medicine, more of like mental disorder, in terms of acupuncture. So I really, part of my mentorship programming at Pacific College, when I was an apprentice there, and I went through the VA, a Rush Hospital, and also a Heartland Clinic in Chicago. We were treating several things that are not even related to what I call physical medicine, but the central nervous system. And I think in lieu of finding, the fascial stretch therapy, I think there's a great, combination with acupuncture to really just have a more enhanced treatment for whatever population you have, like much that I have dealt with. So, yeah.
And how did you find out? How did this fascial stretch therapy come to play? Like, what part of your life did it come into?
So to me, it came when I was in acupuncture school. We really don't dig deep into the physical modalities about, so essentially fascial stretch therapy to me is rooted in Hui Na. Hui Na is a TCM version of essentially fascial stretch therapy, but it's basically a mechanical manual type of therapeutic modality that was used 3,000 years ago as a medicine. We don't get taught that very well in school. So I'm like, when I was in acupuncture school, well, I don't want to just do needles, because what if they can't handle the needle?
Yeah.
I want to be able to treat everyone and over the moon. So what kind of skill set can I acquire to be able to somehow treat, a physical modality and get my hands on? And it just so happened I was actually reviewing some of your episodes with the last one. I think he was an Army veteran. Much like his story, I wanted to just find out a physical modality, and I used to actually work for Stretch Zone as well. So I was going to acupuncture school, and I was working on my off time. I was working at Stretch Zone, and a year, 8 months to a year, I was like, I need to leave this place. I think I outgrew it. Clients were telling me, you're good at what you do. And I know it's the difference between the other stretch practitioners and you. Like you have a natural ability to sense how far I can go. I did some research, wanted to add that onto my skill set.
Mhm.
And so out came, fascial stretch therapy, and Stretch to Win came out, and uh, paid the fee for it, and here we are. Literally 2 weeks later, I ended up going to get my certification, and that was kind of my journey into Stretch to Win FST.
Did you ever have any hesitancy when you heard about Stretch to Win and like this course, like enrolling in it?
Absolutely not. The way that I think is I like to think in different layers of the same problem, and I used to get this as well. Acupuncture needle. He looks at it only from the lens of needling people, but our license can do so much more than just needling, and that's like manual manipulation to some extent. So I'm like, what kind of skill set can I acquire? And that's how like this is going to allow me to be able to do more, treat more people, and provide more of a holistic care to the person that needs stretch. And we live in a very good population where we're constantly on our phones, sedentary, like movement is medicine. And one thing we can do is at least awaken, the joints, get it moving, get it grooving. And no, just that was my introduction into at least what the capability of Fascial Stretch was at that time. And it's just grown, and my understanding of it just grown within the years of that I've gotten my first certification. It's almost been 2 years now. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Okay, so you're level 2, right? Or are you still level 1?
I'm a level 2.
Okay.
I did want to get my level 3 at some time,
Mhm.
but I probably will at some time, because I just feel like any type of education, whether it's skill set, it brings numbers. It's the more you know, the more you're able to have that tool in your back pocket and use it when the time is needed. So I'm all for education, bettering yourself, and yeah, that's pretty much it there.
So kind of tell me what your practice and what you've been doing in the past with acupuncture, like how do you incorporate FST, especially with the fascial lines? I mean, there's so many things great about acupuncture with FST, like you're saying, incorporating it. How do you incorporate it though? Like, what do you do?
Incorporated. So obviously there's a standard way to assess and treat. I incorporated in terms of, okay, this guy is coming in for back pain. What are his lines of tension? Whether it's, the iliac, psoas, like what does his pattern look like from a TCM aspect? So before fascial stretch therapy was actual thing,
Mm-hmm.
TCM has these channels called the sinew channels, and these are exactly the myofascial, the planes. So being able to see it from a lens of an acupuncturist and also a fascial stretch therapy is like, all right, this guy shows this type of pattern. Let's just say he's side locked, he has blurry vision. I'm just naming like symptoms you see in TCM standards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out that that's the lateral fascial plane, the lateral fascial line. So it's like, which is also called the liver gallbladder channel, but that's just from in terms of fascial plane. That's the lateral, channel, the lateral fascial plane. So I incorporated it that way, and by just listening, really get into not interview, but just really listen to the patient and what is it that they're having. And if you just listen to the patient, you can pretty much understand what type of treatment they need. Whether they need more lateralization, doing, Saxon or whatever. Like those are all modalities that are going to treat that type of fascial plane. So yeah, so that's just combining that and just being able to listen to the patient on what he needs for that day. One thing that I've learned quickly is less is more. Less is more. So I usually introduce the FST as part of the introductory, just to see if we can make the patient clients more comfortable with me and the practitioner and my skill set.
Yeah.
So that's the first treatment. And then maybe the second treatment, I'll probably do one needle, just because sometimes it can be a very powerful stimulation to the central nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want to do is scare them away, from, coming into the next treatment. So I would always leave with an introductory stretch. then do needling on the second visit, and then at some point later on in the third or fourth treatment, I'll do a little combination of both. And it has made it so, like, my objective as a practitioner is to get you not to come into my office, because we're essentially trying to re-educate the central nervous system to have a different motor output of what they do every day, which is kind of a sedentary lifestyle. And a lot of that comes too with kind of educating what they should do on a daily basis, especially when have kind of like the life stretch program. So like these little adjunct therapies that they can kind of get educated on can really just help prolong the effects of FST.
So for those who don't know what TCMS is, explain it briefly.
So TCM is traditional Chinese medicine. It's just an acronym. And a lot of its philosophy is rooted into, obviously, the yin and yang. The yin and yang, there's a balance between the yang being more of the spirit energy, the invisible thing you can see that gives you energy. In relation to, science, it's like the ATP, the energy that all the biochemical things that happen in biology. And then the yin is more of the actual like substance, like the architecture of the human being, the bones, the soft tissue, more of the actual physical nature of what that is. So they believe more in the philosophy of balancing those two energies of physical and more of the invisible spirit of energy. So PCM is just that in terms of the yin and yang, balance between chi and blood.
Yeah, I know Chris Frederick, with his background of Tai Chi, that's why that's how fascia stretch is. It's just that dance, that rhythmic move, which, you incorporate it, which is awesome. Especially for those who don't practice, I guess, martial arts or any type of, martial arts practice. But I want to go back a little bit. So with you starting your practice and you gotten out of it, you started this, do you have to educate clients of like the difference between acupuncture and like fascia stretch, is there a lot of educating?
I don't. I think this will kind of allude to the other question you asked about the analogy that I use. One thing that I do is I like to always hold a conversation and teach what they're doing wrong, because that's what I'm here for. And part of that practitioner, like I practice what I preach. So is I want to be able to articulate how I view the world, either through analogies, or part of that education piece is, one, for them to get to know me and for me to get to know them. Once we build that trust and they can build a value on what I have to offer in regards to the education, I don't really separate FST from acupuncture, because I think it's one of the same thing. Obviously, because I'm an acupuncturist, I'm going to say that. But in terms of, being an FST, in part of this podcast, I guess I would just review it as, FST for the purpose of this podcast. But I don't really see a difference between both, because they both essentially rely on the same energy system.
So how do you explain to people what fascia is when you're, first time clients?
Okay. Fascia. Okay. So fascia is a continuous tissue that is on top of muscle. Just like skin is covering ourselves right now. And in this fascia, it's the one thing, whether it's ligaments, tendons, it's continuous muscle. You being in the cadaver lab and having been in the cadaver lab, you cannot separate the tissue at all. It's all continuous, it's all connected, and there is no empty space. Okay? So the fascia is that sheet of layer of skin where the central nervous is able to send neurotransmitters into the central nervous system so you can have a motor output. So it's just this. I would kind of be, the analogy I use here is kind of like a computer board, the motherboard, right? You have, all these outputs, inputs, and then you have this film of physical thing that goes into the motherboard. Well, that's our brain. That film, that's the fascia there. That's the one that's sending all the motor output into whatever. And in that, obviously, there's research and literature to show that it's both related to proprioception and also mental, physical trauma. Like all that layer of whatever experience we have, it's stored into that fascia. So that is kind of where more of the people call it woo woo, but but more of the holistic realm comes into play. Well, it's not just mechanical; it's also emotional and mental. So we're a computer for that sense. So
in essence, it's, I guess, doing fascial stretch therapy, even acupuncture, different modalities, we're resetting that computer system, actually, I should say,
It's a
into it.
control. It's control. It's a control alt delete, brother. It's a control alt delete. Control alt delete. Control alt delete. And that's the way that I can explain it, either FST or acupuncture.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead.
No. I think that's cool. I mean, I've used Control
Yeah.
Alt Delete many times.
Yeah.
Share with me some success stories, man, since you've been in this journey of clients, from the time that they met you till currently right now, or even ongoing. Like, how has FST helped them?
So in terms of the leads that I get, I've got an ex-patient, ex-patient coming in, been suffering from like anxiety, couldn't sleep, everything. She's a hypochondriac, very anxious, very stressful job, smokes. And after one stretch therapy session, didn't even use acupuncture because I think they would elicit too much of a response. I was able to get her to sleep that day, first day after the first session, and I didn't do anything special. I just listened to the body, kind of like the yin and yang response, pushing and pulling, the dance essentially. And she came in for 3-4 treatments, and she hasn't come back after that. So it's like my objective for studying and having the skills that I have is because I essentially don't want you to. I don't want to see you anymore. I'm not in it to make money. Money is a result of it, but I'm not in it to make money. I'm passionate about this, and I want to help change how people feel and how they move. And I think it's interrelated, so you can't really separate one from another. Another success story that I've had: a guy who's similar, older, chronic back pain, cane, stumbling, no balance. So his gait was really not there. And had his motive on life was like, I want to get back to playing softball, and the very, very high spirit, So like you can tell this guy's resiliency was like there, but his body is computing the same high spirit notes as he had.
Yeah.
So after the first treatment, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take it easy on this guy. I know we want to kind of do everything over the moon, but less is more. I stretched him out the first time, and he actually had pictures of that. Actually, it'll be the 1 year reunion since that happened. He came in walking with his cane all hunched over, and he left, and he was carrying his cane as he was leaving my clip. And then the next one, he didn't even come with his cane at all. He came in, and then at that time, I stretched him out and gave him, acupuncture. So after, 3-4 treatments, he was good. But yeah, man, it's very powerful, I think, and I owe it all to being able to understand what exactly fascia's role is in the central nervous system, both with mental, physical, and emotional health. So it's really the holistic in medicine, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
Definitely. I think there's so much about fascia that everyone should know because it's that missing system besides the muscular and skeletal system. It's that fascial system that I think we all should know. And like I said, it's been disregarded during cadavers or even in school system. So
I'll be totally transparent with you.
Yeah.
In the dissection lab, we make the muscles become the muscle. This whole medical system where we dissect everything, that's all made up so we can learn it in a standardized way. But everything we know is continuous. We make the bicep femoris, we make biceps tendons, but if we don't separate the fascia, that's thrown out into the recycle bin. So it's like it's a new organ. It's only been studied for about the last 10 to 15 years. So there's a lot to be discovered exactly what is this organ, and perhaps the most important one.
Where do you see fascial stretch therapy itself evolving in the next several years? Do you think it's going to be
in terms of the business, kind of like the FST more? More general.
More general, like, where do you see it? Do you think it's going to be like more of a known thing? Like it's going to be in healthcare system that doctors are going to be saying, hey, you should get FST instead of having to, take medicine. I just don't know where you think the trajectory of.
Okay. I think just to stay within the lines of, not having malpractice or deterring people from taking their meds. I think it could be a good adjunct therapy to help prove that we don't need these other type of therapies. And I'll kind of leave it general. So I'm not saying, one way or the other, but I think it's an underused source. I think even more chiropractors and PTs are actually moving towards that way. But I think within the actual system of FST or other practitioners of that specific skill set, I think you guys are in the better luck of this because you guys are getting better at the skill set. You don't have to know all the knowledge. You can know all the knowledge later on. Like you can do the literature, you can do all the reviews. Like you don't need to go to school to learn it. Learn the skill set, and as you start to get more curious into why you do, as you're actually stretching a person, and you have that aha moment, much like I had when I was, treating these other patients. I think that curiosity and the physical skill set that you do will make you guys a better practitioner than those that actually went to school, because you guys as PTs, personal trainer, whatever your, credential is, you know how to talk to people. It's not a diagnose. You're treating people like people. And I think that carries numbers and values over diagnosing people and just, checking off, boxes at a center. So I think the holistic aspect and the value you guys have to offer is the customer service more, or the satisfaction of being heard. So both people skills is something that is heavily dismissed in traditional healthcare. And I think in terms of FST, that is half the battle. Wherever you put your mind at, and whatever that narrative is for that client patient, that is so much more important than, you have hyperdysplasia, or like it's just, it's really, it's a disservice to healthcare within itself. And I think FST practitioners have a front hold on that, and other practitioners of similar skill sets, I would think.
So with your business, resiliency, acupuncture mobility, what's your long-term goals for your business?
Long-term goals. So that's it. I'm still figuring it out. So Ian, much of my journey was a path of discovery. I knew what I wanted to. I was obsessed about the central nervous system, and fascia became a thing. And neuroscience essentially was the root umbrella thing that I was interested in.
Okay.
And neuroscience is related into behavior and environment. And, I'm a huge Huberman Lab podcast. I don't even listen to that, but I listen to that like almost religiously, because a lot of these tools can be used every day by just natural medicine but to answer your question, like, I don't know, sky's the limit. I've accomplished a lot of goals in the last 2 years, and I don't think there's a limit I just figuring it out as I go. I really don't have a plan. I'm just right now. I'm about to open up in Naperville, Illinois, and I'm gonna have my own clinic where I'm doing one-on-one care, doing acupuncture and mobility, and FST and FRS, and all these other skill sets that I've acquired throughout the years. I'd like to hire people at some point, but right now I'm kind of a one-man machine, and I'm gonna try to keep it that way, because I don't know if you watch Shark Tank, but you hold on to the business as much as you can. You do everything at first, and once you know when that door knocks on your door and you need help, you'll know then. That hasn't happened yet, so not until then. Then we'll start to think about the next step, because I only try to take it day by day.
Yeah,
So,
I got you. Bite at a time.
yeah.
So with the strategies as far as like growing your business, from subleasing your office to now you have your own place and opening a new area, what's been the most effective strategy in growing your business?
I think exposure, proof is in the pudding. Go out there, whether it's um going to communities where they have like a festival, or they have exposure, any type of exposure. Now we have social media. You can record yourself. You can do a before and after picture. Like, I think that is literally how I built my business. But more than that, just getting that first free session on the house, just prove the client why you offer value in exchange for what you do. The proof is in the pudding. Word of mouth. I think initially the first year is you trying to get better at what you do. The whole first year, and then second year you can start to kind of delegate where you want to spend your energy and time, with regards to marketing, advertising. Yeah. So that I literally just give out free treatments for the whole first year.
Okay.
And that's just so I can prove to myself that I had a proof of concept of business, first of all. Now that I survived the first year, I'm like, all right, now I know I'm worthy, and I had the confidence to know that I am that person, and I can have in a conversation that I know if I put X amount of days or X amount of treatments into this client based on whatever their systems present, then I can have, a next result. So I like to measure, things like that. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, there's so much I want to go into, but I'm short on time.
No worries, man. I try, like I said, I give very long-winded answers because we can talk about this for days. I'm very passionate about this. So
Yeah, and that's a thing. I'm more than willing to always have people come back to the podcast. We could do part 2 and
yeah,
kind of go dive different parts, like especially that the central nervous system. I think that'll be a great podcast to kind of dive in deep into like how fascia works or certain central nervous system. And then you can kind of share your expertise. I'll love to do that. So let's do that again.
yeah, man.
To close off, I love to promote your business. I know you're growing, so please share with the audience, the followers, how people can follow you and learn more about what you're doing currently. So if you want to share with your social media, a website, an email, your physical work location that people can book a session with you. Go ahead.
Sure. Let me go ahead and look at it. Actually, I'm moving. But so my main avenue of just promoting myself is definitely going to be Instagram. Acuphysio Practor, which is ACUPHYSIOPRACTR. You'll find it when it pops up. That's basically my main avenue. You can book on there as well.
Okay.
You can find where I'm located, and you can also have a link to my website, which is resilient.work. I'm located in Naperville, 25 Washington, Naperville, Illinois. It's a suburb just south of Chicago. So yeah, basically my main avenue is my personal Instagram. I personally believe that because I'm so passionate about this, that I am the brand. So posting about my life is essentially when I want to help educate the realism of what I have to offer. And that's, the services that come with my practice.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I truly believe that too. Brand is your reflection of who you are and what you preach. So props to you, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
So for those of you who want to learn more about how Aaron and I got certified to learn this type of modality of fascial stretch therapy, you can visit stretch2win.com, where Chris and Ann Frederick, the originators, have started in the past 30 years now going on. So much to learn from them. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more at the Stretch to Go podcast. Streams out every Friday at 7 a.m. So yeah, man. Thanks, Aaron. Dude, appreciate your time again.
Hey, no worries. Anytime, man. I'll be looking forward to that part 2. I know we didn't have time this time, but I actually wanted to bring up the analogy here.
The
I wanted it's integrity, man. That's exactly what I kind of philosophize everything about in terms of fascia and acupuncture. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that part 2.
All right.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Bye.